In this session, we are going to talk about CSS selectors and their precedence. This is a very important topic, so pay close attention to this section. The first thing you need to know before working with CSS is how the different types of CSS selectors prioritize each other. This means that if we use several of them to style an element, for example, which one has higher priority? Our first priority in selectors is ID selectors. The second priority is class selectors, then element selectors, then star selectors, and our last priority is pseudo selectors. So that's basically what you need to know about priorities. Let's move on to the next slide to explore this further. Well, on this image you can see the CSS priorities much more precisely. Also note that we have a higher priority than ID, which of course is not considered a selector but has a higher priority than IDs, and that is inline style. So you can use them too. Of course, you should not use this type of a styling method too much in your projects. Look, I've added some HTML here that we don't need to do anything with right now. We want to see what inline styles are. I already colored this h1 element purple in CSS file, and now I am going to show you how to change its color with inline styles. When we look at the output, all the h1 tags are purple. Now I want to change only the color of the first h1. Now how we can do this? We can do this by using inline styles. Even though I have specified in the CSS file that my h1s should be purple, I can use inline styles and set them to green, which can be useful in some cases. Now, if we look at the output, the color of my h1 changed to green, even though I had said the CSS file that the color of h1s should be purple. This one turned green. After that, IDs are our priority. I gave this h1 tag the ID of whatever. Of course, you can give it any other name you want. Now, we can change the color of our element using this whatever ID. See this selector ID that I've here has changed because in the CSS file we said that all h1 tags should be purple. So this is applied from the CSS file. So here I actually came to use an element selector. Now what does an element mean? For example, the h1 tag, the p tag, the span tag, all of these are element selectors and have a lower importance than IDs. This means that if I want to change the color to black using this ID, for example, the color will change to black and will no longer remain purple. We go into the CSS file and I can use the whatever ID, which we also have to write with a sharp sign to tell it to set its color to, for example, blue or any color you want. If you look at the output, you will see that the color has changed. The priority of IDs is higher and the classes have a lower priority than IDs and a higher priority than element selectors. As you can see, I have given an element both an ID and a class. Now I want to use the class to change its color. I'm going to change the color here. Now, do you think the color of our element will change? Let's look at the output. Our color is still blue. Why is it blue? And it hasn't changed because IDs are more important than classes. It's because of this feature that you should master priorities in CSS. You probably already know about selector tags. For example, I can change this tag to a p tag and change its color through a CSS file. So it's possible in both ways. I select the tag I want and change its background color. Now, if we look at the output, you will see that my background color changed, and because I changed h1 to p tag, it's no longer as big as others and has become smaller. Well, that's it for now. Another point is that if you pay attention, I also told you about the pseudo selector and the star selector. I tested the top three together, but these two are left. What is a star selector? The star selector is the least important of the other selectors we've mentioned so far, and it's the last one in our ranking. If I show you in the CSS file, the star selector is defined like this and it covers all the elements on our HTML page. Now I said here to change the color of my elements to pink. As you can see, some elements are pink and some are not. Why? Because class selector, ID selector, and inline selector are more important than a star selector. That's the reason our color is changed like that. So far, I've told you everything except for pseudo selectors. These types of selectors are very useful and have different syntax. Let's say in this list we want to change the color of just one of the items and change the background color of that item. How we can do that? So what's the way of doing this and changing the color? I go into the HTML file and I can see my list here. Now I can select one of these tags in my list, the first, the last, or the middle. It doesn't matter. Now I want to use pseudo selectors here. I just need to select my li tag in the CSS file, put a colon, select the last child and set its background color to red. This is how we can use pseudo selectors. And if we look at the output, my last element has changed color. These are called pseudo selectors. These pseudo selectors are of lower importance than all the things I've told you so far. This means that if other selectors have already styled this element, the pseudo selector cannot apply its own style. Well, in this episode we learned all selectors and their priorities. I hope it was useful for you. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to support the channel because it's very valuable to us.